of crimes against humanity, violating laws, abusing power, and violating the Constitution. His multiple grudges and his greed played a prominent role in his presidency. He rooted up the Cherokee Native Americans from their homeland because he wanted more gold and more land. He tore down the country's most stable bank with money that actually had integrity out of spite. Should a good leader really be making decisions based on spite? No, especially if they hurt the Americans. He denied the inhabitants of South Carolina the basic right to have a say in their government. Isn't that why we fought the Revolutionary War in the first place? And then to have a say in our own government? And then he just comes along and tells the common people that they can't have a say. Now, is he really for the common people, or is he against them? But this man's greed, spite, and hunger for power got in the way of being a good president. Now, we have 4 witnesses here today whose testimonies will prove Andrew Jackson guilty. We have Samuel Cloud, John Burnett, Henry Clay, and Robert Hayne. Henry Clay tried to stand up for the Bank of America, which he knew was constitutionally right, and Andrew Jackson basically shut him down. And that ended up causing a depression. And why? Because Andrew Jackson didn't like the bank. And that young boy over there, Samuel Cloud, he was ripped up from his home in the middle of the night at gunpoint without enough provisions, and his parents ended up dying because of that man. This poor, sweet, innocent young boy is an orphan now. And John Burnett saw his friends suffer and die, not only because they didn't have enough time to pack, but also at the hands of Andrew Jackson's shoulders. And why? Because Andrew Jackson got greedy. And Robert Hayne, he tried to stand up for the rights of the inhabitants of South Carolina, and Andrew Jackson ignored him. The people of South Carolina had their rights taken away in front of their eyes by Andrew Jackson. And why? Because Andrew Jackson wanted full control, and he didn't care that he was going against the basic principles that America was founded upon. Now, what do you see here? A common man, one who stands up for the rights of the people, or a tyrant who only cares about what he wants? A man who abuses power and makes his decisions based on whatever stupid little grudge he has at the moment. Andrew Jackson is of the latter category. His treatment of the Cherokee Native Americans, his disregard for the American people, and his refusal to let the people of South Carolina have a say in their government showed what a tyrant he was. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am confident that you will find Andrew Jackson guilty of these 3 crimes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Laura. And the defense team starts it.
May I use the board?
You absolutely may use the board if you'd like.
Andrew Jackson's decisions involving Indian removal, the destruction of the National Bank, the nullification crisis, and the Tariff of 1828 were necessary for the 3 Ps: to preserve the safety of the nation, to prevent corruption of the national government, and to protect the economy of the United States of America. Andrew Jackson's decision on the Indian Removal Act was necessary to preserve the safety of the U.S. In the War of 1812, many Native Americans joined the side of the British. This is not the only example of the Native Americans doing something similar. In the American Revolution, many Native Americans also joined the side of the British. In Andrew Jackson's second annual address to Congress in 1830, he said, "General government kindly offers him," meaning Native Americans, "a new home and proposes to pay the the whole expense of his removal and settlement. He is just giving them a new place to stay while also expanding the U.S. territory. And any deaths on the Trail of Tears were not murders. They were all due to conditions involving weather. 4,000 from weather. National Bank. His decision involving the destruction of the National Bank was necessary to prevent the corruption of the Department of Treasury. The National Bank it was a monopoly. It had an exclusive right to bank under national authority. It had too much power, and that kind of power leaves room for corruption. The Tariff of 1828 was basically placed to promote American goods by placing a tariff on European imported goods. And it was necessary to protect the commerce because the European countries were making their goods cheap and easy to purchase for the Americans, and it was lowering the income from American goods. And a result of this tariff was a rebellion, the nullification crisis, where South Carolina basically attacked Andrew Jackson on this decision. This rebellion was not Andrew Jackson's initiation. It wasn't his fault. Andrew Jackson was an innocent man. His decisions were necessary to preserve, prevent, and protect. And I am confident that you will agree with me by the end of this trial.
Thank you, both opening statement lawyers. We are now going to proceed to the direct questioning with the prosecution team each calling up one of their witnesses one at a time. Each witness can be on the stand for no more than 3 minutes. When I hold my hand up with the number 1, that means there is 1 minute left of that questioning.
Can we, like you said, present, so we'll have access?
Yep. I basically have right now the prosecution team's document up, where I have your responsibilities as lawyers, but I also have your documents, so I can click on any one of the documents if you want to bring them up and show a larger version of it on the big screen. Mm-hmm. Good. All right, prosecution team, first direct lawyer, who would you like to call up?
John Burnett to the stand.